There we go.
What's going on, everybody? Let's get the beat going. You know what I mean? Let's just get this party started.
Bring that house in.
It's that type of day.
My name's Dan French. I'm your host of the French Workbench Podcast. Today's a Saturday, and thank you guys for tuning in. We have a great guest here today. We have a full studio, and I want to bring him on here in a second. We're going to talk today a lot about what's happening with Zillow. We're going to talk about the 2022 forecast for this market here in Las Vegas, and also we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the, you got real estate, you also got property management. So guys, this is the most real behind the scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs going on here in Las Vegas. And please hit the like button. Please subscribe. We need help. We need support, darn it. I was going to say, damn it, but I'll just say, damn it.
You know what? If you're not going to subscribe, just quit watching right now.
Right. In studio, we have Mr. Rick Raines.
Good morning.
What's
good morning.
up, buddy?
What's
How
up?
are you?
Good.
How's life, buddy?
Hey, it's doing really good. We're expanding. Hired a new employee coming on Monday. That's
things are happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, good for you, man. Anything new happening in your world? Did you do anything exciting this last week?
Yeah, I did. I signed up for our office Christmas dinner, and we're going to do an escape room at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be nice. It's going to be good.
Where's the escape room at?
Escapology. Actually, we got 3 rooms for the
right there in Town Square.
Yeah, right in Town Square.
Cool.
Then we're going to go to the Texas Day, Brazil after.
Yeah, nice, right?
It's going to be good.
I think I'm invited, too. I was on that special guest, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe I wasn't.
I'm just going to show up for the steak.
We have over here Mr. Brett Jenny. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Dude, you got the backwards hat today. You coming in like...
Backwards hat, beard.
Like beard?
Bearded up.
Yeah, man.
So,
great.
beard, makeup for men.
So what's up with you, buddy? Dude, you came on a Tuesday and you had a short turnaround time to come back on a Saturday. How do you feel about that, man? Were you driving
I had to recoup.
Yeah.
But
red line?
Yeah. I'm coffee over here and red line here.
And do you like mix it?
Breakfast of Champions. Put a little Bailey's in it. No, I'm just kidding. That's for another hour.
All right, man. We got also Mr. Joe Dragon. He's back on a Saturday. What's up, Joe?
Yeah, what's going on?
Not much, man. You also got your own little thing over here, huh? What is that?
This is a proper Starbucks. Nitro cold brew, right? Sophisticated.
Okay, so it comes in a can. Do you have to buy that at Starbucks?
No.
So you paid 5 times more for the same thing
in a can.
Yeah, but
it's all good. You're an attorney. I know you're in.
Like I've said, I've had that once.
Brett,
and
weren't you listening? It's from Starbucks.
Oh wow! Yeah. By the way,
Sorry.
best year ever, Dan.
What's that?
Best year ever. That's what your hat says.
Best year ever. Yeah, in 2019. Last year was good. It was good. I can't complain.
Glory days.
19, man. It was just,
Let me tell you, 19, that was roaring.
Well, yeah.
The roar 19s. You know?
MVP. We also
Full sun that year.
Okay, we got Mr. Aldo Martinez. He's explain what you do as far as the GLVAR, because I know you're the president, right?
Right.
Okay, so what is your role there? Like, what are you responsible for?
Really nothing. So,
It's not just
dealing
a title.
with people at a whole different level.
It's a big title. You're a talking head for them. Trying to keep the information flowing and just keep the ship afloat.
Yeah. So let me say this. So you got into real estate. You've been in real estate for what, 30 years, something like that?
28 years now.
28 years. Okay. And what brought you into real estate? Talk to us about that.
A bad transaction.
Really? Everybody has that same.
I love it, man.
Everybody has that
I
same
love
thing.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I don't know if it was as much a bad transaction as just not knowing, how a real estate transaction works. I remember I hired, and they're still around, so I'm not going to mention their names. But I hired them to sell my house, and then for the next 90 days, all I get is postcards and letters about all the properties they're selling, and that I need to reduce the price on my house, and my house is not moving, it's not getting shown, it's the whole, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So they asked me if I want to extend the listing, and I said, no, you guys haven't brought anybody in here. What am I going to extend this for? So we hire another guy that gets recommended to us, and he shows up at the front door, and he's wearing shorts, T-shirt, and a flip-flop. And I said, can I help you? And this guy's Pete, so I don't know if Pete's even in the industry anymore. But I said, can I help you? And he says, well, I'm Pete. I'm here to list your house. And I go, all right. So because you don't expect a real estate professional. You're going to have to show up like that. So he comes in, we list the house. 4 days later, we have no confidence in him. Let's just go. This is it. Let's cancel this thing. I go, there's got to be an easier way. And I was in the military, still up to 2004, and I ran a recruiting office over on Sand Hill. And,
Oh, wow, really?
yeah. So lo and behold, right there, as I'm pulling into work after having these two, what I thought was challenging real estate performers.
What I thought was challenging.
I see this sign that says Key Real Estate. I think it was Terry Key. So I don't know if it's Teddy's daughter-in-law that was running it back then.
So
Bass
Michael
School Real
does now.
Estate.
His son, Michael
Michael?
runs it now. Yeah.
I think his daughter's in it too.
Well,
though,
she
right?
is too, but Michael's the one that does the.
But it was Terry Keys, and
Okay.
so I signed up for the class. It was at nighttime. As from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, I'd get off work. I'd
Yeah.
just walk down the hall and go into that thing. And,
Right.
And now I teach real estate school for
Yeah.
for
So you
our
got your
company.
own deal going, huh?
So the
So-
lesson is:
so wait a minute,
be
did
a
you-
good agent, or someone's going to get their license and become the president
And
of the
then-
association.
So did you end up selling your own place?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got licensed and we
Yeah.
sold it within
Okay.
6 months afterwards.
Okay.
So you got into I guess you were in the military, you said before, right? So what did you do? I mean, was that primarily what you did before you got into real estate, or were you doing something
Yeah,
different?
no, I was in the military, and that was my main job at that time in the 90s. I was I had just gotten off a gig of setting up the 72nd MP company, which was for the National Guard here in Las Vegas, and then from there, they got deployed over to Desert Storm.
I got you.
And since my first few years in the military was one deployment after another deployment.
Yeah,
after
you have a
another
great
deployment.
background though for getting into real estate. You
Yeah.
know, as far as like
Dodging bullets. Yeah.
Yeah, that improv. Yeah, right there, right to stay alive. But yeah, I mean, you have the discipline behind it and the organization. And if you're good at setting up like an organization, and you did recruiting before, right?
Yeah, that's all I
so
did
that
for-
really,
Ran recruiting operations for the West
yeah,
Coast. It was-
run your business like a business. And wow,
So
Business
it's
happens.
amazing, right?
That's probably the most surprising thing when you look at real estate is
Yeah.
how few people
Absolutely
run it
right.
like a business.
Absolutely right.
yeah,
What do they run it like? What do you mean? I'm just curious.
Just shooting from the hip, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I admit for my first how many years, I kind of ran it like that before I was like, wait a second. There's systems out there, and if you put them in place and put the things in place, it's actually easier.
What types of systems? Like, what do you mean?
Just like like CRMs. Well, I mean, of course, when I first started in 2005, there wasn't that much
there
for
wasn't
CR
as much.
systems and blah blah. But regardless, you got to be diligent with everything. You got to follow through, constantly follow through. Just the little things that, especially the military teaches, the little details and being disciplined with it.
It's-
Really,
Yeah, just having a marketing plan on how you're actually going to perform with
Yeah.
the property and what you're going to do and what timeline.
a lot of realtors just shoot from the hip and they just go from one client to the next. And oh well, so and so is supposed to give me a call, and then they're doing their business on hope and prayers,
Yeah.
which is really
well,
stupid,
let's
obviously.
talk about one thing.
Which is
that
why
I
probably
wanna
8 out
bring-
of 10 don't make it past.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it like this. Okay, so there was a time where you would actually have to go and put your name out there, and you would have to go shake hands, meet people, right? And
Back in the 70s.
right, well, 70s, even 80s, even the 90s, early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say even upwards into the 2000s. I know that, we had internet and things, but for me, I think it's completely changed where you can maybe attest to this too, Red, is that you don't have to really go into the process of like sitting down with somebody and taking them through the process of trying to sell yourself. You can do it over the phone, or they look at your information online and they're like,
Social
this
media.
guy's,
That's where social media.
this guy's legit, right? Because I've been following him, I've been watching him. So it's a completely different world probably when you got in, correct?
Well, I think it's an endorsement, right? So the marketing, what you're doing and seeing on the web and everything else is an endorsement, but you still got to go in there and meet the people. You got to shake the hands, get belly to belly.
Right.
It's still a people business.
Yeah, I think,
Very
but
much so.
you don't feel that there's a lot less people though that want to do that, where they're like,
Well,
hey, you know what? I'll let you be representing me based upon what I see, your knowledge, your likability.
I think that a lot of the process ahead of time that you used to have to do is superseded now by social media. But eventually, yes, you're going to have to meet with them face to face, and they're going to have confidence in you. It's just, I think a lot of the process leading up to that we had to spend on before is
'cause
more
we
superseded
I
today.
think
still
a
spend
lot,
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the new agents, again, going back that 50% of the agents that get in the business fall out in the very first year.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they think that social media, they think that all of these electronic
I'll just post
gadgets is going to make it for them, and they're not willing to go out and shake the hands and talk to the people. And they just think it's going to come rolling in.
Kind
do the
of
work.
Rick's point. I'm an attorney, got my own firm.
Yeah.
And what I've kind of realized, I figured out the marketing stuff was, in today's age, I spend a lot of time on the website, social media, but that's not what's tracking the business. What happens if I meet somebody, give my card or whatever, know somebody? That's your
networking.
Now they go to your website, and that's what confirms in their mind that
you can
you're
never
legit.
replace networking. That's
you
always
still
going to
have
be there.
You still got to meet.
You got to do both, though.
You got to do both.
So I have networking, but the networking is to get them to pay attention to my social media, and then that's what's going to draw their eyes. That's going to sell them.
Yeah, because they might love you, and then they go and then look you up online. Where are you?
Yeah.
Right. That's a problem.
Absolutely.
I prefer meeting people in person. I really do, because it helps that chance of you working with them. When you sit down face to face, right? I mean, you're the same, right, Aldo?
They're buying you, yeah.
Yeah, you know how it is. I'm a real person. I've got a family. We're da-da-da. It's
I
like
don't
you
sell
break
on the
down.
phone or online. It's the phone and online is to get me in front of them.
Yep,
So that I
absolutely.
can sit, across the
What
table.
what separates an average real estate agent or a good one versus somebody that just wants to get paid or just got into the business? I know everybody wants to make money, but I think there's a separation. There's a stigma out there. People think that some people think that realtors don't. They don't do a lot of work, or there's not a lot of, time involved in things that they're doing as far as getting an offer accepted, things like that. So explain to me what the difference is from your perspective from the average real estate agent or let's say the starting out real estate agent versus a seasoned realtor.
Well, I think when you look at them, everybody that gets into it, right, they're wanting to run their own business. They want to set their own hours. They want to be in charge of the direction of what their life is going. So everyone goes in with great intentions. It's just, whether they get good tutelage to build a business and understand how to take care of people. Yeah. So I don't think I haven't seen, at least in my 17 years of running a brokerage, where someone's coming in and I'm here to just screw people over, right? That's not what you get. You got people that's got really good intentions. It's just some people are cut out for it and some aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And you find out right away.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of hospitality people that try to get into this thing, right? So they're used to punching a clock and being told what to do and when to do it. So now you don't have that clock. You don't have someone micromanaging you.
You're absolutely right. I remember I started when I was 27 back in Madison, Wisconsin, though, but I show up the very first day of my brokerage, Realty Executives, right? I show up with an empty briefcase. I sit down on my desk, and I'm like, okay, now what? Yeah. I mean, literally, it's you need to take it upon yourself to seek that out and bring once you learn that, but you'll find that out about yourself real quickly. You know that.
Sounds easy, but it's a lot more challenging.
Of course it is.
Because you're got so many avenues you can go down.
Yeah.
So, and then a lot of times you get overwhelmed, and then that's where you're talking about. Yeah. All right, make a plan, stick with the plan, and then do another plan, right? Compare the results and start carving it out. But no one's doing that for you. Somebody to do that for
I would say the best that I have to do with real estate is that I can tell you what not to do. Yeah. Right? Which is worse is weight and gold.
But you've been there. You wouldn't know that if you didn't do it. So I know. People talk about, I don't know about
Well, that's what I'm saying, where it's valuable in the sense of I can't tell you necessarily the magic formula because, it's ever evolving other than stay on top of things. But
yeah, my kid just got licensed in October, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
He's a brand new real estate agent. So every day he comes into the office at, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone. And he's on the phone for
good for him.
2, 3, 4 hours. He makes about 250 calls a day.
Jesus, does he really?
Yeah, we put him on the Mojo dialer. And he's out there, and he's got a really good, disposition for.
How old is he?
He's 24.
Dude, he's gonna be a millionaire in 6 years. Dude, I'm telling you,
his work ethic is unbelievable.
That's the thing, right? And that's really so.
In college, I watched him because he went to work in Colorado, knocking on doors. Right, so he knocked doors.
Dude, he's hustle.
He knocked doors from Monday through Sunday.
Dude, this is easy then. This is easy for him.
It's a walk in the park. So if he's not on an appointment or showing someone a house, and he's doing an open house on the weekend, he's just grinding.
Think about him with 10 years of clients.
Right.
And I think that's the differentiator with some agents, right? It's that you got to put in the work. You don't get a license and it just comes to you. You've got to put in the work. And you know that. I mean, it's the same thing in lending, right?
Yeah.
You're a lender, great. So are people running and knocking down your door to just come do loans? No, you got to go out there and go get it.
It's time. I think you got to go into a time. Now let's talk about your situation from markets. Now we've seen 2000s. We saw a market that had a collapse. a market collapse with housing, right? Because we had bad loans written. I remember being in places where, investors were just shutting their doors, Silver State, Freddie. I mean, there was places like you couldn't believe it. I had loans in pipelines where they're like, pull those loans out. Banks aren't going to fund those loans, right? Yeah. And so,
dude, it was literally within this period of time too, where it's like, all funding for everything just, it was like a
so you
domino, man.
You fast forward to, let's talk about during that time there was short sales, and you were a part of that, obviously. And let's compare that market to a market like today. We saw a lot of people lose their homes, unfortunately, and I think a lot of people back in the day when they were doing the short sales and foreclosures and things like that, they probably would have held on to their house if they knew the market was going to go this direction. And we talked about,
I mean,
you know what I mean,
yeah, dude,
100%. Right?
All of us would be millionaires if we could have. I mean,
right?
Yeah, but I mean, remember, you got two completely different markets. So when you're talking about the market of 2000 and that crash, people had very little money vested into these properties. I mean, you were doing 80-20 loans, you're doing ninja loans. I remember girlfriends that my wife worked with that, they were on 4 or 5 homes. And my wife's going, you need to buy a house. I go, no, this is not sustainable. This is crazy.
That's the example I give. Remember, Nina loans, no income, no assets. It's like, I'm a teacher and I'm buying a $400,000 house here and then 2 more rentals over here.
And you can make up what you made, right?
Literally.
So it's like going, well, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. You need to make an extra $100,000. Well, did I tell you about that side job I have?
Oh, you don't need to bring documentation to sign here. Sounds good.
So, so you had individuals that owned multiple homes that couldn't even sustain the payment on one home.
Yeah.
I remember my wife just towards the end of the crash, because I was telling my wife, I read a great book at that time. It was called Timing the Real Estate Market. And it started giving you some indicators, right? So I figured out, I go, heck, I could rent a house right now, and I can make more money by renting a house than I can by owning my house.
Sure.
And the reason is because my rent payment, I think, was going to be like $3,500 a month for a house in Anthem, but my mortgage payment was going to be $7,200. So I took the gap between the two over a 12-month period. I go, heck, I'll bank $48,000.
Yeah.
I go, it seems like a great deal. I go, it's overheated. I go, this isn't sustainable. And my wife comes back and says, no, they wouldn't loan you the money if you couldn't afford it. I go, hell, I can't afford it. I go, this is 72.
Don't ever say they would never.
This is 72% of my disposable income. How in the heck are you supposed to live on 28, 25%?
Yeah. And you get to the point that, I mean, everybody always talks about, we overinflated with this real estate market. And you make the point, too, because in 2006, I graduated high school, so I'm a little younger than Brett over here. Anyhow, but I remember, I think it was 10th grade or something, 11th grade, I remember the history teacher saying, real estate's this perfect investment. You're never going to lose money, endless gold mine. And guess what? Everyone thought that way. What you were saying, that was minority and was tossed away. So the fact that we have this conversation continuously today means we're not in a real estate bubble, because we're having the conversation.
Yeah.
Bubbles happen when you can't see it. So we're not going to step in the same shit twice. Now, there may be other things.
But I mean, listen, dude, everyone was drinking the same Kool-Aid. And it's like, even looking back as hindsight, right? Looking back now, dude, we're all like, duh, of course. But we
so
knew.
Blind.
It's one of those things where everybody knows in the back of their mind, but when everybody's making money hand over fist, no one's going to be the first to raise their hand and say, hey, guys.
You don't want to. It's inconvenient to.
And hey, as long as the market's going up, awesome. But when it stops, look at Zillow right now.
Well, in this town,
they went on that theory, and then
this town was building up HOH, communities that nobody was living in.
Yeah.
All funded by people buying it to sell. It's like, well, why do you build a house for people to live in?
Well, remember,
we're getting too far supply.
ATM machine.
In the 2000s, below, we were building 20,000 homes a year, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, that boom between 06, 07, and 08, they went from 20,000 to 32,000 to 38,000.
Remember lotteries?
Just to sustain
at the home builders?
Well, now we got a new version of the lottery.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So the lottery back then, at least you won the house, right? Today's lottery, you get to bid on the lot to see if you can win. Right? I'm like going, Jesus goodness.
I get to win a lot. The chance to overpay to
bid on the lot. So everybody does.
It's. So let's talk a little bit about
that's builders, man.
situations with people that you sell. I mean, a lot of people had lost their homes. Did you go through any situation where you saw? I know they invested a little bit of money, but people are like, "Oh, I got the American dream," and then they went into a house, and then you see the same people. Maybe not you that you put them into contract, but somebody that or that it's just a sad story for them. Like, meaning it's like, man, they put money into it. Now they have to move. Or was it more like, hey, you know what? They kind of expected that this might happen.
No,
you know what I mean?
Nobody expected that.
Right.
That hit everybody like a ton of bricks. I mean, we saw more people get divorced during that time frame.
Right.
Because just families collapse.
Yeah.
Income, it puts huge stress on it. It was a bad deal, right? So, and that's why you saw so many people walk away from their homes, right? The recovery period was so long.
Yeah.
They were underwater 54 to 57%.
Wow.
And they could have.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's like you're not going to recover from that. And the payment was at 5 and 6% interest rate loans.
And frankly, most of them could have just sat there.
So I'm overpaying for a mortgage that's worth half of what it was. Like, and you have no skin in the game.
Yeah, they had
You
no
know,
skin. I wasn't losing anything.
banks,
And they
at
go, my
first,
credit will recover in 5
yeah.
years.
So
I'm good.
how many times did you have a situation with a seller and you would go to the banks, hey, listen, you should just take this on it, and they would say, no, they owe it to us.
Yeah.
And we'd say, I understand they owe it to you, but that's not going to happen. No, and then look what they did. They slit their own throat.
Well, eventually, little by little, they had to. They
But
came to
that's
the
when the state,
realization.
because
you saw some
that's
banks
exactly
like,
what happened.
You saw like Indie Bank, which basically that was one of the first ones that went under, right?
Yeah.
They figured, well, first to market, we're going to go ahead and just dump and get rid of all this stuff
Yep.
as quickly as we possibly can.
Yep.
And while they did that, they forgot about another little key indicator, which was mark-to-market indicator, right? So they fell below the market-to-market for banks, and that's why they lost it. Their paper value got reduced so significantly.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to today. Let's talk about today's market. Okay, so a lot of people, and I talk to people. I'm not on the phones like your son, but I'm on the phones.
Nobody's on the phone like that kid.
No,
Yeah.
and good for him, man. He's doing
God
big.
bless the young. Let them have at him. I'm burnt out over that.
So you look at this market today, and you're saying, well, what is different, and why would we not? Because I think everybody's waiting. Do you feel like we're in a bubble, and are we waiting for a crash at this point?
I don't, and the reason I don't is because of the supply chain side, right? So because they were sitting there and building only 10,000 homes for that whole time period. Mm-hmm. So there's 117,000 to 120,000 shortfall of units that are required to meet the population. That's why you see so many apartments going up. That's why you see so many investment companies that are coming in and buying up rental real estate, because they understand the market's going to stay up. The prices are going to hold hard, but the median income of the average citizen in this valley can't afford a house at $425,000, right? They make $87,000 a year. If they have one car payment of $500 and they got some minor, credit card debt of $200 or something like that, all they can qualify for is $425,000 at 3%. If the rate goes up 1 point, that's game over.
And if you
for
bought in
them.
the last 4 or 5 years when you could afford it, why would you sell your house now?
You're going to hold.
Of course. Hence no homes on the market.
The only reason is if you're making good money, and I think henceforth why the luxury market is just flying off the shelves, right?
Yep.
We got 1,343 luxury sales as of yesterday. Right?
And what's the luxury price start at?
1 million and above.
There you go.
Right? And still our luxury is very affordable because it's only 1.4
So 1,300 that are $1 million plus.
1,343 homes that were sold that were $1 million plus. We never sold over 400. I mean, it was like 420, 380.
Those are sold?
Those are sold, closed.
And the record
Closed.
before was 400.
It was about 420
go.
to 480. So
Wow.
we're tripling that. And it's because the people with money understand that. And the money factor is so cheap. Heck, 42% of your payment right now at 3%, 42% of your payment goes to principal reduction. So you're chopping your
Off the
principal
gates?
out of the gate. Take any loan at 3%.
Yeah.
And when you look at your interest payment and your principal payment, right, 42% of it is principal reduction.
That's my whole thing. Even when prices were going up, who cares when you're getting
Well,
free
right.
free money to
Yeah,
borrow?
so-
I mean,
Back in the early thousands, right? You were looking at what interest rates, 6-8%.
6.8. When I
Yeah.
bought my first house, it was 10.5%.
Yeah, so you're paying,
yeah.
you're paying,
That's get out of here. That's
you're
outrageous
paying
now.
over double for the house. Right?
Yes.
Now
Well,
I think
it's not that
well-
you're paying double. Your payment is higher. You're
Yeah.
paying more interest. You're getting very
yeah.
little
So
principal
you
reduction.
went through all the 30 years of payment, right?
Yeah.
Your principal would be whatever.
So the overall,
300,
yes, you'd be paying
then-
more.
Yeah, 370. Now
think the-
now it's about. I think I'm paying about 100 on a 20-year loan, extra than what the principal is.
Okay.
But you think that's an awesome deal compared to what it used to be, right? Now you can actually get that equity and enjoy it because you are actually kind of putting your money in a bank. Still, someone's going away, but not compared to what it was. You were throwing that away.
Yeah.
It's the biggest. It's the biggest savings account that most Americans are going to have, and then that's why I keep telling people, they're saying, "Well, I'll wait till the prices go down." You can't, because if it goes up to 4%, right now it's only 30.
Prices aren't going down.
It's only 30%.
Prices aren't going down.
Yeah, like I said, what was it? Even if it goes down 15% with a 1.5% interest
care.
rate increase,
40,
your higher mortgage payment.
And look, you can always say some world catastrophe like war obviously is going to screw it up.
Yeah.
But that aside, this is not a housing bubble. And it's exactly what you were
Could
talking
it slow
about.
down? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
but
interest rates go up, it'll slow
It's
down
just
because
based-
the amount of people that can buy.
Dude, who of us out there
qualify.
don't want more homes on the market?
Right.
No, I mean, of
Yeah,
course
so
we do.
We're
dude.
talking about
You know?
supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
It's basic economics. You
Absolutely.
restrict the supply, which is what we have because we went through a crash. So builders were not motivated to do what they did again.
Yeah.
You have COVID, people backed off again. You have supply chain issues, which makes the cost. And you
Well,
and you crash.
there's logical reasons behind this one, and last
That's
time
my
it was
point.
all fake.
Yeah.
So
What are the
definition of a bubble?
The Census Bureau,
Yeah.
38% of the home buyers own their home free and clear. 38%.
Which is
Free and
wow.
clear.
You go back 12 years ago, that's insane.
Yeah.
So unless you're not going to pay your property taxes, which would take years to foreclose on, you're not getting foreclosed on.
No one's going to give up their mortgage. You can't go rent a house
Yes,
for
I
less
know.
than what their mortgage payment is.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's
that's
the market goes
and that's
down.
why nothing's going on the market because people don't understand that. It's like, yeah, it is becoming unaffordable. That's why no one's listing their home. Because if you lived here for the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Well, look, you talk about rates, okay? So let's kind of go towards the mortgage rates. Is that the biggest defining factor you think that would adjust or push people from not buying, or is there
Well,
other
it's not that
factors?
it's going to push them from not buying. It's they won't be able to qualify.
Yeah.
Right. Then lending will have to do some of the crazy stuff that happened in 08, and I don't think anyone's going to go down that road again.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
You're going to have skin in the game.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You got to have a down payment. The DTI can't go above 50%. Right. Once you start doing that, that's why you have all those challenges. Then people don't have disposable income to basically buy food, groceries, get out there, even live a life.
Rick,
Yeah.
do you have thoughts on this? I see
No, I'm
mind's
just
working.
thinking. Yeah, my mind's working. I'm just thinking about it.
Rick's listening up.
Yeah, to add to that problem is just the inflation that's going on right now, and the fact that disposable income is being gobbled up just because of increase in prices, which makes it even more difficult to qualify for something.
Yeah. So if you look at this market and you say, okay, rates go to 4%, is that going to be a something that's going to be detrimental to people out there buying? You say they're not going to qualify, but maybe the ones that do qualify, they're so used to having cheap money. Maybe they just don't want to do it because they're like, you know what? It's like this. If I see houses, when I was here, I saw houses at 180,000, 150,000, 180, 200,000. Great deals out there. To look at the same house now, and you're looking at it, let's say 3 or 4 years later, and it's selling for $350. It's kind of hard when you see that, and you kind of was going through the process with the appreciation. Same with interest rates. If you start to see that process where I'm used to having 2.5%, 3%, maybe it's just not even about them not qualifying. Maybe it's, man, I don't know if I even want to spend that much money. I feel
So
like
then
it's-
what are they going to do? Rent and then pay more?
I don't know. What do you think, Aldo?
Yeah,
Those are your option.
It's you still need a roof over your head.
So,
right? So
that's the thing about
where are you
real
gonna
estate.
live? And that's been one of the things that's caused, from COVID and people working from home so much. They found out that the space they had wasn't adequate.
Yep.
So what you're going to probably see a big shift in building, and I think they're going to have higher density.
Okay.
On the lots, you're going to see maybe a lot more brownstone. You're seeing that up on College, up in the Henderson area. You're seeing in Summerlin, they're doing some of that kind of development out there.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna you can fit more density with it. Even Inspirata, right? Inspirata did that down Frenzy Avenue where they have those row homes with the back end entries so that you can fit more units. And that was what was happening when the land was so expensive in 07, 08. That's why they went to that kind of development.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to give you the space. They've got to get the prices, under $400,000 for your average citizens to be able to buy. But the only reason I'm concerned about the interest rates because it's just the median income in this valley hasn't gone up significantly over the last 10 years.
Do you see?
No, you're right. It's going to be coming to a head.
You're sitting in a position of power, so to speak. Have you heard?
Don't kid yourself.
But have you heard anything as far as
I can crush
the development of the city basically moving up the valley. Is that where you see it heading?
Well, it keeps going out that way. I mean, if you look where D.R. Horton and all these builders where they own an ungodly amount of land. They say they don't have the land, but when you look at the records out there, they've got it all surrounding the entire valley.
They haven't snatched
what they're
up,
trying to do is trying to buy the infill stuff, right? But that infill stuff, they're saying, hey, look, we're paying $1 million an acre. That's not what they're going to develop. They're going to develop the stuff that they bought in 2008 that they were trading with each other at discounted rates.
Yeah.
Because it's a 15-year plan, right? I buy to date, and store it so that I can develop it 10, 15 years down the road. They're not stupid.
As far as you're concerned, and from your point of view, it sounds like the building aspect of Las Vegas is going to continue very strongly, and we're going to expand northward, basically. And
we are.
But I mean, it's going to continue for years and years.
Well, I'm up at
look at all that land you have.
I'm up by Sky Canyon.
Yeah, it keeps going.
And they've, I grew up in Northern Nevada, drove down here a lot, right? All that northern area stopped for that 12 years, and now we've crest the valley, headed towards the Indian reservation, and they're just massive sublots on the east
You're
side
getting
of
right by
95.
Cow Canyon Road.
Look at the
they're going
prices
as
in
far
Elko.
as they can. I think they got
right behind
still
Cow
room up-
Canyon Road
yeah.
now. Going up to Cow. Yeah.
We even I go up to Elko, and the prices in Elko are just like they are here in Vegas.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's
and in
surprising
Northern
part.
Nevada, in
Really?
Reno,
Wow.
it's even worse
Well,
than it is here.
Yeah, Reno's worse.
It's worse.
Because
Reno
Reno's
is
restricted because
But Reno has a lot of tech money moving there too.
well, it's hard to develop that city because it's really not a great spot for a city. It's like in this bowl of foothills, and so they get restricted by just land barriers. So better down here. But even Pahrump isn't even looking at better prices. Or what's that?
Mesquite.
Yeah, Mesquite's the
Mesquite,
same
same
too.
thing.
Because I looked at
Laughlin.
Mesquite, I'm like, that'd be kind of cool. I don't know, and it's like it's more expensive. I'm like,
labor.
forget it.
Pahrump
You can't
seems
go
like a
anywhere.
good idea.
The labor
What are you doing,
force.
Pahrump?
Nothing good.
But
What are you doing, Pahrump? Nothing good.
I had court out there just the other week and client, whatever.
Don't worry about it.
But even in 2 years, it's starting to look like a different town. It always looked like an old rural Nevada town. Now they've got they're putting in more golf courses. They're making it all resorty. They're trying to make it like an
Yeah,
alternative.
William
Vegas.
Lyons did a nice job putting that golf course development down there.
Yeah.
It's starting to
built it
look
up.
different. It really isn't that far from Blue Diamond down there.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on and your thoughts on Las Vegas heading into 2022, Aldo, because you get a lot of different insight, I think, from a lot of people, a lot of realtors, a lot of people that are in the industry, and they're doing a lot of data watching. You have some data.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen going into 2022? Like, what do you see?
I just listen to the experts that are out there. We paid Jeremy Aguayo and Applied Analysis, to basically look at those numbers and give them to us. Lawrence Young from the National Association of Realtors, and they say that we're going to have the hottest winter that we've had in a while, and it's not just temperature wise, but real estate wise. Heck, we just closed.
No pun intended.
No, because I'm telling you, it's been nice. Like going,
It's supposed to be too hot.
we just closed 3,273 homes in November. Right, that's a huge number. 3,273 single family
In
homes.
November.
Total sales was over 4,400 or 4,227 homes, right? So that's in November. So it's going to carry on in December.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if we have that January low. The only thing that we're still having is people don't like to list their houses during the holidays, right? So that's pulling back.
Yeah.
So
I
even less
noticed-
homes than before on the market.
Yeah, this last
don't
week
like
it dropped
1.1 month
another
supply
almost
and
4%.
Point
You got 2 weeks supply on
Dude,
the condo
it's crazy.
side.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
2 weeks supply on the condo
2
side.
weeks supply on the condo side,
Man.
and the median price is $240 for a condo.
So listen, we all know like the prices are going up, but the demand is still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel that why is the demand? I want to ask you, why do you feel the demand is going to stay consistent going into 2022?
Because population continues to grow.
Yeah.
And people are migrating, right? So, you're not going to fix it. If they didn't build to keep a pace with the population, that's why I think we're in a good 3 to 5 year spread before we see any real significant
Agreed.
adjustment. And it's because they've got to catch up with development.
Yeah.
And the builders are no different than me and you as a homeowner, right? If they can make more money on their house, they're going to build it slowly and incrementally to keep demand and the prices up.
And to your point, I think there's a live example of this, right? We have the crash, and everybody talks about the crash, but take that away. Stop thinking about that for a second. Just think about other major areas, urban areas that have blown up. The prices don't go down. My grandparents sold their house in San Jose in '98 for like $300. And I think I was even a small kid, so that seems dumb. Because now you look at that house,
San Jose's off the charts.
2.2 million.
Yeah.
2.2 million.
Yeah.
That's what it's selling for.
That's
after
That's the
crash.
thing. So if you don't build, that's what happens.
That was the
because
great thing
existing
about that
homes,
book, Timing the Real Estate Market.
Yeah.
It showed you that every single market in the history of America, dating way back to the Great Depression, every market has exceeded the previous market.
Yeah,
so if you can hold, and that was the problem in 2007 and 8, you could not hold because they bought too many houses and they couldn't even afford the payment for one. People today, everything they own, they qualify for, so they can sustain it, right?
Yeah.
And you've got renters that are looking. Heck, Rick, you could talk about it. You put a rental property on the market. How long is that lasting?
Yeah.
2 hours?
Well, actually, it's gone because of the time of year.
Yeah, but
usually a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a phenomenon where people are even bidding on the rental property. So they're coming in, they go, hey, you want 1,500? And how many,
Yeah.
and they know they got
I've seen
multiple
that.
offers.
Yeah, I've seen
and they'll go,
that.
hey, I'll pay you $1,600 a month.
They try to make deals.
Yeah.
Dude, I did a search for somebody yesterday actually for a rental up to $4,500 per month with like a 7,000 plus backyard in Summerlin or in all of Spring Valley.
Yeah, watch this.
And there were like 9 or 10. That's it. Like 10 literally from $0 to $4,500 a month.
I keep telling landlords,
That's
keep-
insane.
Hold your property because all the stress and all the suffering that you had over the COVID, the year and a half,
Yeah.
it's going to more than make up
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
I'm going to go
Yeah.
show a high-rise condo right after this show. And last year, that rented for $3,000. It's now back on the market for $3,500.
Wow.
Right? A 2-bedroom, 2,100 square foot high-rise.
So a lot of these high-rise
your cap.
properties and other properties in town over the past, I can't remember when the Knights got here. It's been, 10 years now or so?
Knights?
So
The Knights?
4 years.
Like 4 years.
All right, 4 years. Whatever.
Feels like 10.
Hey,
It feels like 10. But
When you're
but-
67, it's been 20. I'm just
No,
kidding.
but in part, that brings in jobs, that brings in demand. So I'm wondering what you hear on the street regarding the A's and what they're doing and what they're looking at right now. Have you heard anything about that?
Tropicana.
What was the last thing I heard on that one? It
Was
was
that
just,
Tropic down by the Tropicana?
Yeah,
we're
Tropicana.
talking about?
well, I heard that Summerlin was actually going to donate the land for the stadium to actually bring them up there.
Yeah,
Right? So
they're
that-
fighting
that's-
over the position. I know they talk about Tropic, but then
Dude, Summerland's just going to give up their land to bring them here?
That's
to
build the stadium.
No, I get it. I get why.
And you know what's interesting about all that? 'Cause
They
we
really
talk
want
about-
them, is what I'm saying.
we were just talking about natural increase in demand and how other cities get expensive, right?
Yeah.
Think about Vegas back in the 80s, right? This was not the strip, right? It was a
Yeah,
much
of
smaller
course,
town.
yeah.
So you had people from LA saying, I can't afford here, so I'm going to move to this, what they call like settlement, compromise town, right?
Podunk town.
But in the
compared to LA
meantime,
at the
you
time,
have the
yeah.
strip get built up to what it was in the 90s. You have the Knights come, you have the Raiders come, you have the A's coming, and the city now is transforming into, hey, we're a major recognized
dude,
player,
we're not slowing
place
down.
to live, right? So your value goes up.
Yes.
So you become more like LA. So the people that can't afford it, you either got to get a job that you can and deal with less money you saved, or you move on to the next place that's kind of coming up. That's kind of what
Yeah.
the pattern is.
The
Well,
industry is
I
gonna
got
support
I
those.
want to say one thing
Exactly.
about this though, because so let's talk about affordable housing. We talk about that. I'm going to talk about that, and also with the situation with let's say that you're somebody out there that you look at the wages, right? A lot of data out there showing that the average wage earner is not keeping up with the appreciation in homes, and so. Wouldn't that be a problem going into 2022? Because I know that there's a lot of people that live in. Let's not talk about everybody that comes out of state. Okay,
No,
this
that's
is
exactly what we
artificially
said before.
put in place. So, what do you think is going to happen though? Is that
They
going to be
haven't
a
gone
bigger?
up in 10 years. Well, you're seeing what's happening, right? That's why people aren't going back to work. It's almost like they're striking, right? People are
Yeah,
jumping.
literally.
They're jumping from
Yeah.
job to job, and they're just saying, "I'm not going to go back to work because I'm not going to work for $12 an hour. I'm not going to work."
Yeah,
for
they
14
just.
bucks
I mean,
an hour."
and think about it. How many jobs did we have growing up where
Yeah.
we hated?
So-
we thought the exact same mentality,
Yeah.
except now they're all getting together as a collective and saying, "No."
So
they found out they can live at home and for
Yeah.
less.
So one of the things that I brought up is that other areas of the country are quite a bit less expensive. Again, you being in the position that you're in, do you see a lot of the wage earners that aren't making it that really do want to buy? Do you see them leaving here,
Correct.
making room to go to another state like Alabama or Georgia And do you see that? Do you hear any
Texas.
rumble about that? Texas,
There's
whatever.
many other places you can go.
Texas-
Because
Go right to Alabama, right in the
Well,
swamp.
don't go to Texas because the
Why'd you
prices
pick
there
Al-
are going off the charts. I got a
Yeah.
good friend that's over there
Austin.
right now. It's
But do you
huge.
do you
Tennessee
see or
is
hear
going up.
or do you hear any of that happening?
Well, but we've always had migration in and out,
Yeah.
right? That's constant. But when you're in migration, is 40,000 to the positive every single year, right? If you leave out the ones that can't buy, you're bringing in the ones that can,
That's what I'm saying.
right?
Yeah.
So the new
No, I
industry is
understand.
coming in.
it's a new market. Yeah.
Well, and Rick, like,
But you still have to have the workers that work in those hotels.
Yeah, but are you going to see people that are living here just be forced out? I guess is what I'm saying, because the home affordability is a problem. I
Yeah,
think
but
here in
I
Las
mean,
Vegas.
Vegas is still. I mean, we have a hugely affordable market. I mean, you try to go buy a house in Washington,
Dude, pick-
Well,
you
yeah,
try
but
to
it's
go
yeah,
right
it's
here in
affordable
Arizona,
for people out of state, though.
California.
And
But
that's what he was trying to
But you're
avoid
surrounded-
that conversation, and so I'm trying to bring it back to where we were at.
Well, the fact
So-
that they're moving here because it's more affordable here than other states is exactly the point
Well,
you're trying to make.
well,
For
I-
a city this size and the demand and what we have to offer here with beautiful weather, dude, we're cheap. We just are not
Yeah,
cheap
well,
compared to
well,
what
Rick's-
we've been.
Well, Rick's point, I think, is
You know?
if you can't afford it, you got to move. And
Right.
I think the answer is yes. I'm gonna give you an example of this. I from here, but I graduated from Idaho, and I did a year in Boise at school. And Boise's a great place, right? Great family place.
That market's booming too.
It's so good that you get a lot of professionals, it gets saturated, so the pay goes down, right? Because there's less piece of the meat to go around. So a lot of people couldn't afford to live there. How fast things have changed in 5 years is crazy. Because one, I've been watching those prices, and they've actually kind of stalled and came down in Boise or whatnot. And you had a problem before where you couldn't afford to live there just because you couldn't get enough higher income. But now nothing restricts you. If you want to go to a place like that, you sell, you go, you work remote. Doesn't matter where you are. And now you can afford a cheaper place and get a bigger place than you could here, and still make money with a different market. So how things are going to move is, I think, it's going to be really interesting because you are no longer, for I think the first time in history, your income is not tied to where you physically are. For some people, like hotel workers, yes.
You're
But
going to
a
see
lot
a
of-
relocation of a
that's-
bunch of
that's a good
different
point. That's a good
areas and
point.
people.
So
You know?
it'll be interesting. We're in a brave new world, honestly, with
Yeah.
how we do economics.
What do you
Because-
think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Aldo? I mean, you think that that this market is going to be driven to a point where you're going to see a lot of people internally leave Vegas, and then I mean, the demand is still going to be there from out of state. People downsizing, going to another state. What are your thoughts about Las Vegas?
If you can't afford where you live, you're obviously going to shift. And
Right.
you're going to
Yeah.
move to where you can, right? I mean, that's just human nature.
Right.
Right. You got to put a roof over the head. You got to put food on the table
Yeah.
for your family. So you're going to go to where you can survive and you can provide, a life for your family. But it's like that everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like that everywhere in the country. I mean,
You gotta adapt.
We don't have a unique situation in Las Vegas. This boom of real estate and the lack of supply and demand is throughout the entire country. There isn't a state that's not feeling this.
I mean, Kansas.
What's in Kansas?
I'm sure
I mean,
cheap prices
maybe
there.
there's one or two more farms available, but
Maybe you should put a trailer that'll get wiped out by a tornado next week. So I don't know.
What do you see? What do you think about some of the challenges that people face though coming to Vegas? Like some of the things you hear out there with people that are transitioning to Vegas. What do you think that? Like I always hear, like, well, moving's hard, or I got to find a job here. I mean, is that some of the same stuff that you hear from people, or is it because?
Yeah, but we deal. I guess I deal with a different type of clientele when we come in at Berkshire. They're relocating, so they already have a job lined up. Very few people do we deal with that are just basically, packed up everything in the back of their car.
Yeah.
Those folks are really probably getting temporary housing and rentals and
Yeah.
stuff like that, trying to find something economical.
because they need to have a job in place here
gotta
to
have a
get a
job
loan
first, so-
and the whole 9 yards. We can't do anything if they can't get a loan.
Who moves to a new place without a job?
The key there that you said something economical, and we've already discussed that the rents aren't economical. So, if they're moving here to find lower rents, it isn't happening, people.
So let's go back to the 2022 prediction. Where do you think prices are going to end up in 2022 for the average median single family residence?
Well, we can't keep on pace at 22% increase, right?
Right.
So just like when you track it from 2010 to now, you had spikes where it went up 19%, then the next year we're about 5 or 4%. So I think we're going to probably, maybe see modest 4 to 7% gain, during 2000.
Wow, so it's not going to go up that much. I mean, as far as 4 to 7%, huh?
Well, you've got a lot of factors. You've got inflation, you've got interest rates, you've got supply, and then you got the median income in this valley. There's no, I've been wrong. My crystal ball works about as well as anybody else's, right?
I think I said 3 to 5%. And what did you say, Rick?
I said 5.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You're
the one that says it's going to be a lot higher. That's why you're a lender.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be 15. I'm going all in. I'm pushing all my chips.
Yeah. You want to bet a Bitcoin 15. On that?
Yeah, not today.
Yeah, but
you should today.
That today.
Discount.
It's like.
But that's the reason that it isn't going to go up a whole lot is because people can't. The people that live here, which is part of the demand, can't afford to pay the freight, and that's why it's going to have to slow down.
Well, and I also think the graph jumped probably because COVID kept it flat.
We had 2 years.
Aldo's got some information.
Yeah, we had 2 years where we had double-digit increase, right? So that was in 2011 and 2012. So coming out of the 2010 year, 2011, which was the bottom of the recessionary market that we experienced, right? And then 2012, where people are going, okay, the bottom is hit, it's time to buy. But then right after that, it dropped down to 9%, then 6%, 7%, 12%, 9%, 5.7, 9.3, and then now 22. We had 13% in 2020, then we had 22% in 2021, right? So that double digit, there goes the 2-year ride, and now it's gonna. It just.
I remember in 2013 listing a short sale for like 200,000 in January or February of 2013. And by October, November, 10 months later, that same house that was selling for 200 was selling for like 260.
Yeah, I got lucky.
In like 10 months.
What was the square footage?
Nothing back then because that was still cheap compared to now.
Yeah, I bought my foreclosure that I'm in.
It's probably like $100 a square foot.
In July of 2011, paid $390. And it's sitting at $890 right now.
Wow, so, isn't that crazy amount of return?
Hey, man. Aldo, you know what's up? That's what's up.
Yeah, but I'm not unique, right? Everybody that bought during that time frame, that's why you see so much equity in people's homes. They're not going to walk away from it.
So let's ask this question then. Okay, we all are out here as realtors, lenders. Saying, look, we bought at this time and we got a ton of equity. Where's the attraction for people now to buy, thinking that they're going to get that much equity in that amount of time? Because
you bought last year, right?
Yeah, has the balloon popped?
So basically. You bought last year, you just got 22% equity in your house.
Yeah, but I mean, moving forward, what do you think?
So you buy today, right? The money is so cheap, right, that it makes it economical. You got to live somewhere, and even if it goes up 4 to 7%, what's your bank giving you? Half a point?
Yeah. Let alone you're in a market that's continuing to grow. Yeah. I mean,
just take a drive in any direction on any one of our major interstates. There is land in abundance.
So it's like selling your house right now is equivalent to like, okay, if you bought Tesla stock and Tesla's like $1,100. If you bought Tesla stock when it was $100, you could sell now and make a great profit, but I think we all feel that Tesla's going to just keep going up. So
I would if I wanted to move to a different location in the valley.
Yes, that would be the only reason.
Or if I was going to move into my forever retirement home now.
Yeah.
So
other than people who have a specific reason.
Like my kids are out of the house. We got, more house than we really need
and in a position, yes.
But they still, until they stop coming back.
Well, and
probably never.
Saying, what you're saying, Dan, is, look, you're always going to hear somebody hit the market perfectly, right? But most of us, it doesn't happen. Yeah. And it's not your fault. You just weren't in the position to make it happen when it happened. And then you think, I'm going to miss out. It's got like a term for that. Like, I'm
FOMO.
Yeah.
Fear of missing out.
And then you think you're already missed, so you don't buy. But the question is, when you're buying a house, 1, do you need it? And then 2, can you afford it? And then what's the risk, right? Because if the risk is you lose a job and you can't make the mortgage payment, you can sell the house and get out of the mortgage. It's not destroyed. If it was really catastrophic and like the price, which I don't see happening, but the housing price went down what the mortgage is worth, banks know what they're doing now. They're not going to crush you. They're like, there's ways to get out of that. There's ways to model. You're not like going to be crushed.
It's completely different. Like, everything in every shape and form is completely different.
Because of what happened. Yes. It's very hard for a bank to foreclose, so they're willing to work with you.
I know that humans continually make the same mistakes, because history doesn't teach us, even though it does, but we're still too close to that wound.
But look at that, even completely forget.
Well, I don't think we make the same mistakes. Look at that Great Depression.
We're still close enough to that 10 years or whatever it was that.
Well, we make different mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
just look, the Consumer
as
Finance Protection
drastic right
Bureau,
now.
right, in April had a meeting, right, and they basically were looking at what's going to happen with all these people that are in forbearance,
Yeah.
right, and are they going to get foreclosed on and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they came out with some policy to go out to all their lenders that basically said, hey, you can come right out of forbearance and go straight into loan mod day one.
Yeah.
And then put some additional restrictions under Regulation Z that basically said
Mm-hmm.
you can do that, but A, you cannot raise their interest rate, okay, and you can't raise their payment. And the only thing you can do is tack it on to the end. So make their mortgage longer. So take a 30-year mortgage and make it a 40-year mortgage, right? So they can stay in the houses. So they're already working on ways so
Yep.
that we don't have to go through any
You're
type
being
of
proactive.
Yeah. The biggest mistake people made when they went into forbearance, right? They weren't paying their
Yep.
taxes and they weren't paying their insurance on the property, right? So that kept getting built
and-
up by the
yeah.
servicer.
Yeah.
And then when they came out of forbearance, they go, hey, we got to make this money up. So that's where the
Yeah.
CFPB said to go, look, we understand that. You just have to throw it onto the back end
Yeah.
because they'll lose their homes if
Well,
you
and
take that,
taxes
try to get
will
it
crush
paid.
you faster
Yeah.
than
Here's-
anything else.
Here's
So they-
another aspect that because of the group that we're in and because of the time that we're in that we keep forgetting about. The reason that most people should be buying a house and do buy a house, especially if it's a starter house, is to buy a house and live in it, pay it off. That was the way it was in the past. It wasn't whether or not it's going to appreciate. It shouldn't matter whether or not the price goes down. You're looking to be able to live in a place after retirement. And if all this other stuff does happen, woo, great for you. But so that's the other side that we never talk about, that most people should be getting into a house to live in it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to bring something up. So you're basically telling me and everybody out there that looking at 2022, still a great time to buy. You're still going to have the options, and we'll slightly slow down on appreciation, but overall, it's still going to be a very healthy market here in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah. Don't put off today, what you should be doing today.
Right.
Right. Everybody keeps waiting for the catastrophe to happen, and then
It's not gonna happen.
Then you look back, it's like, oh my God, I should have bought Google when the .com crash, right?
Yep.
But everybody was terrified, so I should have bought this. I should have bought Bitcoin.
Yep.
I should have bought
Yep.
Ethereum. I should have bought. What everything is. I should have.
I remember showing homes in 2010, 2011. Homes that were 4 years old at the time and selling for $85 a square foot. And I remember people being like, 85 banks want too much goddamn money. These guys are smoking something and want that much money.
Yeah.
$85 a square foot for a house that was 4 years old at the time. It's
$225
And looking
right
back
now.
now, and everybody says, "Oh man, same scenario." Right? Because even at the time, people were like, "Oh, they want."
And I don't see, right? But I'm not that smart. But I don't see. I listen to people,
Yeah.
and then I basically regurgitate what they say.
I think you're pretty smart.
I don't see.
It's the best way to go about it.
I just don't see the
Sounds like
vehicles
Biden.
in place.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't see the vehicles in place to take the market down.
One question I have about Zillow, I want to bring this up. So Zillow's had the iBuying position where they had to basically get out of it, right?
Right. Well, they didn't. but-
Institutional investors are coming in and buying these properties. I think one institution bought like 2,000 properties. We were pitching that this is a great opportunity for people out there to go buy homes because now they're going to be selling it for a discount. They put it on the market way over list, but they're not really selling it to private or individuals. They're selling it to investors, or they're seeking investors, correct?
Well, yeah, you looked at Wall Street Money, said that they were funding small investors, and these small investors were $300 million, right? So,
Wow.
Well, let me just get my checkbook.
but no, but think about it, right? So when they were doing that, the median
me a
price
few
was
weeks.
in the 340s, 360s. They were buying anything between 250,000 to 420,000.
Yeah.
So they were buying blocks of 100 homes.
Yeah.
To go into the rental market specifically.
Just like they used
for
to with the
what they're
foreclosures.
anticipating.
Remember that?
You
They
got
buy
Rent
them.
America that's building a brand new development that's going to be nothing but rental property.
Yeah.
Right. So they were hedging it. Zillow, I just think they got caught. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think so, too.
They're
They
still.
just got
they're
caught.
still buying.
I think
they got caught.
Their
manipulating the
management
market.
allowed them to leverage too much too quick, and that's what happens when things.
Well, you started seeing people talk about,
Yeah.
they're buying that home and that. Why are they paying above market for
Yeah.
that particular home?
Well, they
because
are.
they got these over here that they got to sell,
Yeah.
and they're not appraising yet.
Yeah.
Right. So you
I
start
see.
to
So I
manipulate the
have
market.
a buyer. We
and they
just had an
start
appraisal
talking about that
come
enough.
back on a VA buyer, that was Zillow, and I think it was 385 we got in a contract with in their VA,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Zillow bought it for $375 like a month and a half ago. They put it back on the market for $10,000 more. Appraisal just came back at $375. The best comp they had was when it just sold the 2 months before that.
Well, that's why they're being sued by their investors. What they were sitting somewhere about $47, and the thing dropped down to $17.
Yeah, they should have never paid that to begin with.
That's ridiculous.
So do you think that's an opportunity for people here realistically to buy a Zillow property that's on the market? Or are they really seeking out, I mean, I don't know if you know this data, but just information, are they seeking out investors more so than just say the average family out there trying to buy a house to get a deal?
You know, one of the things that I think they're going to be selling homes, they're going to get it for what they paid for or slightly less than what they basically paid for the house. But they overpaid when they started. Right, to garner that. I think the other thing that they might have done is that they were actually trying to get us and consumers comfortable with dealing with Zillow as a seller. Right, because they're using proprietary software. You have to do everything on their systems.
Even the offers,
the offers have to be done on their offers, on their networks, on their systems, right? And if they have the inventory, and those are the only homes that people are able to find and see, then
they can do what they want with it.
You getting people used to, acclimated, right? It's like a slow process, but I mean,
you're getting them used to the new system.
It's strategic.
Yes.
One other thing I want to bring up too is contractors. Okay, we're seeing a huge influx of contractors coming back, helping with new homes, building new homes. We were short on workers, starting to see that. That's going to have a huge impact. I think everybody across the board here can say that that's a positive sign. Are you seeing that contractors and workers are really really helping out right now? Because we know that there's a lot of new homes still being built. Are you seeing those numbers increase with workers and overall just production with home building?
I don't work in the employment sector, so I don't really know what's going on. But I mean, I know we had some natural disasters that drove construction to areas where they were going to make more money. And construction has had a history of doing that, right? Wherever they can get paid the most, that's where they move to. So when Texas and them were having all their problems in Florida and then New Orleans and everything else, they went to where the money's at. And then now that those situations have been put back to rest, they come back to where development's at.
I think it's a positive sign for Vegas, and not just Vegas, I guess across the country, because there's been a shortage. People were not back to work. If you're trying to buy a house, it's going to help builders. Builders don't like month's supply, right? They don't at all, because then they can monopolize what they do with those properties. So I think there's got to be a good blend, but you still want options for buying new, So let's go over here. We're going to talk a little bit more with you here, Aldo, but I want to talk with Mr. Rick Rains about property management updates, any stories, any updates, any data you can give us.
My data is normally week to week. And again, going off what Aldo said earlier, the condos available for sale really dropped this week. It went down over 10%. And everything from week to week, as far as the available listings, went down almost 4%. In the rental market, we're still seeing the same thing. It's going up. Went up almost 7% just from week to week.
Wow.
It's continuing to expand in the rental market.
Yeah.
As far as a couple of stories for you, one of the things that I started on I can't remember if it was Tuesday or last week, were the aspects of successful property management from an owner's perspective, and we touched on the fact that you don't want to think that your property's the best. We talked about whether or not you're upstairs, downstairs, or you're near a pool. There's always something bad or challenging to those things. So the next number 2 aspect of this I want to touch on is, if you're an out-of-state owner, you have to be able to keep your expenses low. You have to be able to control that on your own, and you need to be able to vet your vendors, your plumbers, your roofers, all of that over the phone, and understand that it's going to be a really difficult thing for you to do. And normally, those types of vendors don't give out-of-state owners the benefit of the doubt or discounted pricing. And I was again reminded of that this last week. I had a plumbing problem at my house. I don't normally make phone calls to vendors. My agents do. So I called up our vendor that we've been using for the last 10 years and told him who I was by name, and told him I needed him to come out to the house and fix this plumbing issue. He started asking me who I was, give him a credit card, blah, blah, blah.
Just right off the bat.
Right away.
Right away. Wow.
Welcome to Vegas.
He did not care who I was. And I said, "You really need a credit card for me?" I said, you've been out to my house like 3 times over the past 10 years. And he goes, yes, I do. And I said, okay, let me get the credit card out.
I want to bring something up, Rick, because this brings up a point where I was watching the news, and there was a contractor that was purposely building or purposely putting bad plumbing, I guess you can say, into the house, and then going back, and I think they were getting some type of insurance. Okay. And so it's weird because I think they prey on people, not saying that this person did, but there's a lot of people out there that are private contractors or just people in general that are plumbers or whatever. They're praying. They don't pray, but they're looking at opportunities. I'm not saying this happened, but that's interesting.
Bye-bye. It didn't. I do agree with you, and that's one of the challenges that out-of-state owners have in being able to vet the vendors that they're going to use. It's really hit and miss, and that's one of the reasons you want to use a property manager. Now, excuse me. To end the story, I started to give my credit card, and I said, you normally bill me. And so something in that must have clicked with him.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he goes, what's your name again? And I said, this is Rick Raines. I own the Atlas Group. Oh, Rick, okay. Oh, no. We'll be out there in an hour.
You just got to drop a name, dude. It's like, hey, wait a second. Do you know who I am?
Yeah. I'm Rick Raines.
No, but the point being is that had it been any of my agents in the office, someone that he dealt with all the time, it wouldn't have been an issue. We would have gotten the preferred pricing right away. But I'm trying to give you a story in the fact that when they don't know who you are, it's completely different. And that's one of the advantages that you have with going through a property manager. It's hard to vet these people, especially if you're out of state. We have all the vendors that you need already vetted, set up. We have established relationships with them. That's the second part of my five-step.
I don't know why people wouldn't get a property management, because it's like you're buying a property and renting it out to make income.
I got people that do it all the time.
Stick to enjoying making your income.
See, here's the problem: is people want to control the situation on every aspect.
I know, man.
Leverage out, right? Yeah. Let people take hold of something to help your life.
How many people create their own headaches in our business?
What's the average rents right now? Is that increased for average rents? And would you say this?
Average rents haven't moved so much in the last 2 to 3 months?
That's a positive sign, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty much holding. Are they still going up? Yeah, but if you're talking 5%, you're not really seeing huge increases in rents.
What's the waiting time for somebody if they said, hey, I'm going to call you, Rick, and let's say you don't have a property. Do you refer it to somebody else? Is that how it works? Like, hey, you know what? I had properties to rent. I don't have anything. So how do you help somebody that's in a need like that? Or do you just, hey, good luck?
Most of the time what we do is we go on the MLS and try to find a property for them. But at the same time, most property managers do not show other people's properties. Why? We're just too busy. And as I stated in a previous podcast several months ago, you as a prospective tenant, what you really want to do, it's counterintuitive. You want to reach out and find a brand new sales agent that is having trouble making ends meet, that has the time to show you the property and is just loving getting these referral fees. Yeah. So those are the people that you need to reach out to.
So let's talk with this. So you guys have any other questions for Rick? Anybody want to talk to Rick about rental sector?
No, I want to ask Aldo, what do you think of that perspective?
I think you're spot on. I mean, I tried managing my own property when I bought my new house in 2011, and I still wasn't out of underwater on my old house, and I didn't want to let it go. And I rented it out myself, and I manage property managers, but to manage my own property, I'm not the guy. I don't have the disposition for it. I don't like dealing with the tenant people. I mean, I got lucky again with a bunch of the stuff, and I know a lot of contractors, that done the work on my homes and other properties that we have listed, but it's just not a headache that I would want to take on in the long haul.
I would never want to do it.
And you would recommend to prospective tenants to reach out to new agents as far as
that's how we start all our new agents off. So, I tell them, I go,
there you go.
I go get these rentals, so we have them work with our PMs so they can get the people that are looking for properties, because they need the experience going out there and showing the homes, opening
working
the doors,
with people,
working the lock boxes, right? And I go, this is where you're at least going to get some practical experience of how to stagger your properties, create a route on how you're going to show it. and get into the groove of these things. And then you start making a little bit of money, make some gas money, things like that, while you're still trying to work to get some listings or some buyers that are going to.
So as I said before, every once in a while, we're talking several years, because it takes a while to get your real estate business going. And so a lot of these referral agents will, I call them referral agents, they will work with us for 1, 2, 3 years until they get their sales business going, and then we never hear from them again. But
Right.
that's
Yeah, but that's
Well, you did well, yeah.
yeah.
They're building their
They're
portfolio.
building
Yeah.
their portfolio, and we don't have a problem with that. So
Father raised the kids in time for them to flee the house.
there you go.
Anything else, Rick?
I'm good.
Okay, you concur?
I agree.
Rick, do you agree with that?
All right, let's talk with Brett Jenny over here. He's the one and only licensed cryptocurrency agent,
Crypto certified.
certified
It's fine.
real estate agent out there.
Certified.
Certified.
Which
That's
means
for sure.
nothing right now.
Go, Brett.
So what's going
I'll
on?
find a way to monetize
What do you
it.
got to say about the real estate market right now?
Man, it's tight. I mean, we have like 0.7 months supply in the market. So,
Even when you think it's going to
you know,
open
so
up, right? 'Cause it's-
here's the thing though. Same kind of what I said last week, which is homes that I've noticed that are specifically like between 600 to 1.1, 1.2. Those seem to be sitting there a little bit, dropping the price some on those. And that's where I'm seeing some price movements in probably that price point. But anything 500 and below, if it's a good house, especially if it has a pool, it's still going cash.
yeah.
I mean, even ones that are like built in 1962.
Yeah,
that are, like,
that's
by the-
interesting. I mean, maybe you can kind of touch on this too, Aldo, is that these properties that are older, then they're doing some upgrades, minimal upgrades, still selling for a premium, and they're not really doing a lot
Because they're
to
below
them.
400, man. That's really
Yeah, that's the big thing.
that's the only reason.
I just saw there was a property on Bandwagon over in Old Henderson.
Yeah.
It's a townhome.
Yep.
When you looked at the 12-year or the 12-month history on it, the highest sell was 129,000, and this property goes on the market and they're asking 215, and nothing has sold in that price point.
Wow.
But the people were already bidding on it, and everybody was wanting to bid list because it is the affordable,
Yeah.
available housing on the market.
What else are you going to find for that price point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2? So, I mean, yeah.
And
that's
it's old. It's Old Henderson.
Yeah. So investors will say, I don't care because it's still the cheapest of it right now, and I've got this money I want to invest in. So here we go.
What other things you have to say? Anything else with real estate? Like what challenges are people still going above list?
No. Well, I mean, if you're below 500, yes, you have to.
How many offers, if you're writing offers right now and you're just out there and you're in
So
the
I
trenches?
have a buyer right now that's approved up to 400. They specifically want a pool home, which is working against them. And I've had that conversation, but you know how that goes with people. So we've wrote on 26 properties now and been beat out on all 26. And we're writing them full price, but they're FHA.
So they're not willing to go at least at a couple thousand above.
They don't have the money to really go. Even if you go a couple grand above, what's that matter if everyone else is going a couple grand above and they're conventional or cash?
So are sellers looking at this going, hey,
Because they know they're already
FHA
listing high, so anything that's cash is not going to be contingent on an appraisal. That's a sure shot, man.
And you're going to get still multiple offers on your pristine turnkey properties.
Yes.
Right? So that's where I tell the sellers, I go, get those properties turnkey.
Yep.
You're going to get multiple offers. You're going to get more money for it. The appraisals are even going to come in because people are all in.
They're all in.
They're all in, right?
Yeah.
So once they're in, they don't have a whole lot of more disposable income to start fixing it up or doing whatever.
Yeah.
They're in it.
They're not playing games.
Yeah.
They're putting their best foot forward, which is for the first time ever. I've never had to really have that conversation with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, we
Like they do it. They know.
we put a property in contract. Was it 2 weeks ago? Right, there was we have it listed out there by Racetrack 725. We put it on the market. Put it up.
What did you put on for 725?
725.
Okay.
So it's about 3,100 square feet, pool, spa, the whole 9
Yeah.
yards, 5 bedrooms, and
So that's what 240, 250 a square.
245. Yeah. So then we put it on there. Have a open house on Saturday. The traffic is abundant. The client comes in and makes a full list offer.
Yeah.
5,000 above. We had an appraisal issue, but I mean the appraisal issue was 15 grand separating the two. So
Not a
it's
big
easy
deal
to-
at that
easy-
price point.
Easy to come to terms on that.
Not a big deal at that price point.
So what do you think is going to be happening? The Appraisal Association, or basically Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, said that starting in 2022, they're basically going to do desktop appraisals. And you were stating about how you're telling your owner to make it pristine, make it turnkey, make it all of this. How do you think just desktop appraisals is going to affect the market and what it is that you're going to be telling these owners as far as what they need to do?
Immensely.
In which way?
Even just like on this particular property, the appraiser called me and initially goes, "Hey, Aldo," he goes, I got 2 comps in there. I go, "They're not working in your favor because there's about a 300 square foot spread between the two. You know, what else is out there?" And so he allowed me to go out there and find it. I just threw it. And I told the clients when I took the listing, I go, "You're going to need to make a spreadsheet with all of the upgrades that you've put into this house." Because the house was, I mean, it had every bell and whistle that you can throw in it. Yeah. So I go, "You're going to need to put that because that's going to need to be there for the appraiser so he can justify the valuation on your home." If I'm doing desktop appraisals, you're not going to see that. And the problem with appraising has always been that they look at history, not what's happening. Right? So that's why even the banks came to us for BPOs during the recession because the appraisers can only tell them what happened. We're telling them what the people are telling us in our ears while we're driving around taking property.
Remember we had those appraisers on and I asked them specifically, I said, "You guys," and they go, "No, we go by what is."
They don't
and
forecast.
we don't got, and I said, "Agents don't. Agents, we when we list something, we take we forecast what's happening and where we think the market's going.
Based on, you know, what they sold for and what the new
appraisers
are
like, they're not having that.
And when you have a year that goes 22% up, right?
Yeah, it's catching up.
Even a month history is way too
so I'm
stale.
listing something because I know next month it's going to be there.
2 weeks is stale.
Yes.
So I can't look
so
back.
I'm listing it knowing where it's going to be in a month.
And they're looking back a year, you know.
And they're looking back, So.
All right, so you got anything else to say? What about cryptocurrency, man? What's going on with cryptocurrency?
Oh, it was a hard night. Hard day and
Did
hard.
you not
It's
sleep
been a
last night?
long day.
Did you?
Night.
Brett was
So you're saying
stressing.
it's a buy opportunity.
No,
That's what he's saying.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it was a buy opportunity. I mean, I knew what I was gonna do because I just for number one, I had a feeling, and it's just like, so I'm watching it last night, dude, and I'm not kidding you. I saw that thing drop $4,000 in a 1 minute candle.
Wow.
I was like, I mean, even so, but it's recovered.
So when do you buy then? Are you going to wait to see if it drops more? Or are you buying now?
After it hit that minute candle, I bought immediately, and it started because, dude, that's unnecessary. Like, even for something dropping, that's completely unnecessary for it to be that violent that quickly. So it's, it's down right now, and I still have a bunch of people who have been in space a lot longer than me that are saying it's going to go. It's we're still on our second bull run, and then I don't know, man. I mean, me personally, I don't know, man. We got a lot to overcome here.
So
in
are
the next
you
couple
saying
weeks,
let's do a quick, real small forecast, and Joe can chime in on this?
He loves to.
I know because he's got his opinion on it.
It's all
That's fine.
good. It's all
2022. Where do you think that crypto's going?
2022, I think that we're going to be into a bear market, but I don't think a bear market like we've had in the past because we've turned the corner so many ways with institutional buyers, and institutional buyers are not trading. They're buying to hold. And a lot of these guys bought at they averaged in at the 29, 30, 31,000 price point. So I think that if we do have a bear market, it's going to hover somewhere around that. But then again, with so many new adoption with people in it, it's going to be hard to say of what that bear market's going to look like, other than to say we're not going to see it go from like say 20,000 to 65 anymore in a period of like 1 or 2 months.
Why did it happen? Would you say your perception of
that's
why
what
that
happens every 3 or 4 years, man?
What drives that though? Do you know?
A little bit of everything. A little bit of more regulation, more adoption, FOMO, fear of missing out, and then this time around. So in 2017, that bull run was created by retail investors. Mom and pops, people like you and me that are sitting behind our desk or at home, whatever it is, buying. A huge amount of regular consumers coming in. Now, this time it's been institutions. And they're buying billions, dude, and hundreds of millions and billions. And
like
they're not selling. Yeah.
You're even seeing the federal government trying to monetize it
Yeah.
now. So
It's a big deal now.
They should.
Which,
Go ahead.
They should have a while ago.
They go, it's a fad.
Yeah.
Now they're going, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and then you force people to make notice of your idea. That's what you do.
So go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say if you were going to buy next year, which currency?
I mean, I'd say pick any of the top 10, excluding a few that I think are frauds. But, if you do anything like, I would say CRO, which is crypto.com. I mean, it is about the rights to the Staples Center. First of all, they paid, what, $700 million for that? And we're going to have the rights for the next 20 years. So they're just getting started. I think they're the next Coinbase. So I think if you buy that coin, you're definitely in, it's like buying their stock right now, but they're not a public company.
Right.
So I think that one, Link, I think Solana.
I've heard Avalanche. It's pretty good. I'm not sure.
And there's a few DeFi centralized one. Financing ones like that too.
Right.
So I think Celsius, a few other ones.
Aldo, are you investing into cryptocurrency?
Not a dime.
Not a dime.
So that's why we're going to talk, because I'm going to turn your brain on.
My kid's
and then
done that, and then
do you believe in it?
He's trying to.
Oh, you lost his wallet, huh?
Well, yeah,
So let me break it down to you in adult terms, because kids.
Let him talk.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's he basically, I guess, bought it and had it stored on one of his iMacs, and then when the iMac did an upgrade, he basically lost his wallet, so he's trying to recover it. For me, it's hard to wrap my head around something that doesn't have a
tangible
something, an
So-
asset
Did
with
you
it.
check the dryer?
Check the wallet. For the wallet.
Let's meet
Moving
up and
on,
let me talk.
serious.
Let me talk to you a little bit of some time, because I can explain it to you in terms that it's going to make sense to you, and that's really all it is something that you can formulate, that you can click it with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. The fact that I've seen that market go, exponentially forward.
Sure.
I don't even play in the market anymore.
Yeah.
Just because, the .com crash wiped me out.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
should have listened to a good friend of mine that just said invest in real estate. Dirt.
I get it.
Because
man.
at least if the prices go down, that means your taxes are going down, so your holding cost goes down, right?
Yeah,
So,
I get it, and that's valid, man.
What's the safest investment, would you say? A lot of people have different perceptions on but everybody thinks real estate's probably one of the safest. It's the easiest vehicle in dirt.
It's hard to argue that.
Right?
it's where there's dirt. It's developable. That's where you've seen most people make their greatest capital.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely,
is on land.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It has very, very low holding costs, right? So you just got to make sure that it's safe. Keep it clean once in a while.
Pay your taxes. You're good.
Pay your taxes, and it's there.
Right.
Where with the stock market, I watched. I owned an MCI, right, and then MCI became WorldCom, and then I had WorldCom, and then all of a sudden WorldCom
and then we know what
files
happened.
BK,
Yeah.
right? They wipe out all the stockholders,
Dude,
and
I
they
know.
come back as MCI, and I'm like going, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So it's you watch companies.
It's
take
the
positions
system,
like that.
man.
It's the system. You
And
got
it's
anything
not
else
set
to
up
say?
for you.
And I'm not there.
Yeah, and Bitcoin's set up for anti the system.
You got anything else to say, Brett, about crypto? Like, should you buy now, or do you got anything else to say to Brett over here about crypto?
We don't have time.
You got a lot.
He was about ready to tell me how he's buying his first Bitcoin as soon as he get off there.
Right. We're gonna end the show
I'll-
here in a
I'll help
second.
you.
We've been over an hour.
Writing it, anyhow.
I'll help you buy it. It's all
No.
good.
Real quick, I want to
Coinbase,
say
dude.
something. I know because you got to go, but everybody's got to go here. So,
no.
what do you like? Pitch yourself a little bit about what you do, because I think a lot of people don't know, Joe, what you do when you come onto the show. But you're an attorney, so kind of explain what your role is.
Yeah, so I do mostly business litigation, but I do estate planning. And you say that word business litigation, it's broad, and it is, right? So it's kind of hard to say, like,
It's brought in. It is.
I've done partner disputes, non-compete disputes, property disputes in a business context, which I do a lot of real property. So it's the thing. What I do, it's kind of specific to somebody's needs. But no, for this show, for instance, what we're talking about, land investments, right? Rental investments, right? Because we're talking about prices going up. So you don't know what you don't know, and I think a big part of that is legal tools that can really help in those scenarios, right? Let's say you want to buy land, but let's say you only make not enough to, like, I can't fork out on the mortgage payment for land. Well, guess what? There's a solution to that. You group up, right? And you do pool investing. But you don't want to do pool investing unless you have an attorney set that up, because if you don't have an attorney set that up, you're gonna lose money, make enemies, lose friends. And so, for instance, you can do things like make an LLC, a trust, investment pool. You have specific directions on how these assets are going to be managed, and that's what the attorney does for you. Creates all that. Can create things like putting in property management, like Rick here or whatever, and then you just sit back and don't do anything. It's all passive. You put your money in. You have the tool. You set up once to make it all happen. That's, in the context of what you're talking about, Dan, that's something that I do, and I can really help people do as far as making secure money in the future.
There you go.
You don't always have to use the stock market. You don't always have to use Coinbase. As a matter of fact, the people that got rich the most, in my opinion, are the ones that did it themselves, and they figured out how to do it. So,
There you go.
Disclosure: Joe works for the man.
I work for myself.
I'm
All
just
right,
kidding.
let's
dude.
end the
Yeah.
show, guys. You guys have anything else to say? Rick, you got anything? I appreciate everybody out there. Go ahead.
Hey, any owners want to get a hold of me at atlasgrouplc.com. I'm going to give a point off on property management fees till the end of the year. So give us a call and we'll hook you up.
All right, Brett. What?
BrettJenny.com.
L what?
I was gonna say my email, but I was like, they probably want to know my website. BrettJenny.com. Real simple.
All right, Joe. How does somebody get a hold of you, buddy? I think you just threw it out there, but go ahead.
DragonLawGroup.com.
All right,
Or
Aldo.
just look up Joe Dragon. You'll find me.
Aldo, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
You
for
could
watching.
plug yourself if you want. If somebody's out there, how does somebody get a hold of you if you want?
You know, I guess the easiest way is probably my website, in7hills.com,
Okay.
and you'll get my number there.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. This is Dan French. This is the French Workbench Podcast. Most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs. We're here every Tuesday and Saturday. Please hit the like button, subscribe, make comments. We'll be monitoring comments. If you really have some legitimate questions on what's going on in real estate, we would like to help you. So, again, everybody, talk to you then on Tuesday.
Later.
Thanks.